The U.S. says it's planning its largest ever shipment of Hellfire missiles to Iraq. Radicals there control economically vital oil sites and declared an Islamic caliphate on the vast lands they control in the country's northwest. Anastasia Churkina has more from New York.
A record-sized shipment of Hellfire missiles to the Iraqi government from the U.S. is in the works. The U.S. State Department is reported to have approved, and the Pentagon is in the process of preparing to send over 5,000 AGM-114 type K, N, and R missiles and related parts to Iraq. The cost of this deal is estimated at a whopping $700 million. American aerospace giant Lockheed Martin is the prime contractor for the production and supply of these Hellfire missiles. This comes as the Iraqi government continues the fight against ISIS, the Islamist militant al-Qaeda-affiliated group who have been raging in the west and north of the country. The Iraq military is reported to have used up about 300 Hellfire missiles this June, and a previous delivery of an additional 800 missiles had already been approved to be sent over by the end of this month. So this latest large planned shipment is in addition to the missiles that had already been sent over by the U.S. According to a Pentagon press release on this issue, the missile directly supports the government of Iraq and serves the interests of the people of Iraq and the United States. It also says that Iraq will use the Hellfire missile to help improve the Iraq Security Forces' capability to support current ongoing ground operations. Renowned human rights groups have been critical of the use of missiles since they have reportedly been fired at residential neighborhoods in cities where ISIS has been present. Specifically, Human Rights Watch has called on the U.S. to not send weapons to Iraq until Baghdad acts in accordance with international law. Anastasia Churkina, RT, New York.
A look at exactly what the U.S. is sending to Iraq. The Hellfire missile can be fired from air or land, primarily to be used against armored ground targets. It's a guided system, so it's fairly easy to use. The missile covers 450 meters a second, and this comes at a price. A single unit can cost more than $100,000. There is a potential downside to the Iraqi army, though, having such a powerful tool at their disposal. The group it's fighting, known as ISIS, has declared an Islamic caliphate on the territories it controls. In their advance, jihadists are taking advantage of the weaponry left behind by retreating government forces. Militants have already outmaneuvered the army, seizing dozens of U.S.-supplied howitzers. They also added 4,000 machine guns to their arsenal and 1,500 Humvees that the Iraqi army abandoned. It's feared that the missiles could end up in the hands of extremists as well. Anti-war activist Brian Becker thinks that arms dealers are the ones who will benefit most.
It's 5,000 missiles. These are important munitions. They could have a devastating impact on the battlefield. It's good for U.S. arms manufacturers. It puts the U.S. back in a position of perhaps a strategic significance in competition with Iran, with the central government in Iraq. Will it change the equation on the battlefield? We don't know that. If we step back and look at what's really happened since 2003, the United States, because of its military intervention in Iraq, fractured the country. It fractured it along ethno-sectarian lines. It financed Shiite militias. It financed Sunni militias. It financed the Kurds. The U.S., as a matter of policy, for 3 years has funneled arms and weapons to arm the so-called Islamic extremists in Syria, and have now fractured Syria. The U.S. is trying to get back into Iraq to have a decisive impact, but it's a divide and ruin strategy that we've seen unfold in both Syria and in Iraq.